Did you know that prolonged sitting can have a detrimental effect on your health? Did you know that you can get injured while sitting? Today I'm going to talk about the 4 common injuries that people get from prolonged sitting, and hopefully that's not you. Welcome back to the Muscle Repair Shop. So today we're going to talk about the 4 most common injuries from prolonged sitting. Now, prolonged sitting, as I'm talking about, you're sitting for more than 2 hours at a time, and what is surprising is how many people over the age of 60 who sit 6, 7, 8 hours at a time without getting up. I was just reading an article the other day that was talking about in some work settings there are people who are sitting 8 to 10 hours straight without getting up out of the chair. Very detrimental effects. Now, I know that on YouTube there's tons of videos talking about the health effects of prolonged sitting, and yes, those are all true. It can affect you cardiovascularly, it can affect your body neurologically as well. But today I'm going to talk about the 4 injuries that can happen to your body just from prolonged sitting. We're talking about sitting for more than 2 hours at a time each and every day. So let's get into number 1, back pain, low back pain especially. The low back pain is created because in a seated position like I'm sitting now, the top of the thighs, which are the quadriceps, are in a shortened state. There's 4 muscles here. The inner thighs, which are the adductors, are in a shortened state as well, and there's 4 muscles there. So these 2 sets of 4 muscles pull the pelvis forward so that if I stand up, my pelvis is literally tilting forward, and that's going to cause more compression on my back because I don't want to be bending over when I stand up, so I compress the muscles in the low back to keep my body straight. That increases the compression on the low back. Now, if I sit in a chair and I realize that sitting in a hard back chair like this one is too painful on my back, but if I get into a reclined position, I'm in much better shape. Now what's going on is that on the back side of the thighs, which are the hamstrings, and there's 3 of those, when those muscles are in a shortened state, for me to sit like this, that's elongating those muscles, which will cause low back pain back here. When I get into a reclined state, I put these in a much shorter position, taking the pressure off my low back. So just a couple of things to keep in mind, because when you go to a healthcare professional with low back pain, their training, just like mine, would be to work on the low back. And what I found over the last 20 years is that is rarely the case. It's most of the time coming from the thighs. Injury number 2, upper back pain going into the neck. When you sit for long periods of time, especially if you're at work and you're on a computer, as I'm working on this computer, you can see how my chest here starts to round in, but see how my head starts to come forward. And we all know that the longer we work on the computer, the more our head goes forward. Well, that head coming forward like that increases the pressure at the base of my neck. But the pain, even though the pain is here, the cause is coming from the front side of my neck and the outside of my chest because I'm in this position all day long. The same thing if you're driving a car, driving a truck all day. You're holding on to the steering wheel, but you see I'm in that same position here that increase the pain. Now, when my head is sitting on top of my shoulders, it weighs about 10 to 12 pounds. But every inch it leans forward, the pressure at the base of my neck increases by as much as 10 pounds. And when you add in that the muscles on the front of my neck get short and the muscles on the outside of my chest get short, that weight increases tremendously and puts a lot of pressure and compression on the cervical spine, which is the neck area, and the mid-back, which is the thoracic spine of the body. And over time, that can lead to things like bulging disc, herniated disc, and pinched nerves. Injury number 3, hip pain. So go back to what we talked about in injury number 1, low back pain. Sitting in this position, we have muscles right in front of the hip joint called hip flexors. And in the hip itself, on the back side, there are rotating muscles there as well. Sitting for prolonged periods of time, this will shorten on the front side and harden on the back side because it's an extended state most of the day. When we stand up, it pushes the hip joint in closer together, causing the hip pain, and you're going to feel it more on the outside down in the hip area here. This is a common thing with people who sit a lot. And again, you can get into a reclined position and you might find that in a reclined position, it may help with the pain on the back side, but not so much with the pain on the front side. So these are things that you can do to solve those problems. Injury number 4. Injury number 4 is knee pain. So when you sit for long periods of time, the 4 muscles on top of the thighs come across the kneecap and attach below. As these get tight here, what happens is that it puts pressure on the kneecap or the patella, and it's pressing in, which can cause pain in the knee. Not to mention that also the calf muscles here, as you sit for long periods of time, become weak, and now all of a sudden you've got too much pressure coming on the knee itself, and that causes a lot of pain, especially when you're trying to stand up. Now, in all 4 of these injuries, as you allow them to progress throughout your life, they're going to get worse and worse, and over time they can cause joint damage, bone on bone, the breaking off of cartilage in the knee itself. The same thing is true in the hip, bulging disc and herniated disc in the low back and into the upper back as well. A simple thing that you can do each and every day is just practice sitting in a chair, hardback chair like this, and stand up without using your hands, just like that. Stand up without using your hands. Now, when you start, most of you will probably start this way. You may start that way as you start to get used to doing it, but over time, use just one hand and get up. And then as you continue to do this and the legs get stronger, stand up with just your legs and come back down. That's a simple thing you can do in your house anytime that you want, and that'll help stop that. When you're sitting in your car, most of you will recline the seat back. Well, if I recline the seat back and I'm sitting here, look at how my neck is in relation to my chest and to my shoulders. If I keep my head in the same position, see where my head is now as I'm sitting up nice and straight. So that increases the pain back there as well. So these are a few things to just keep in mind. So if you like what I'm saying today, be sure to subscribe down below, ring the bell, and share with your friends. And until the next time, see ya.